Koinange, live at the Villa Rosa Kempinski, here with two amazing gentlemen. I tell you, man, Richard Harding, CEO, President, 6X Productions, and also CEO of End Malaria Now. He came to produce The First Grader, starring Kimani Maruge, starring Oliver Litondo, about Kimani Maruge. Finished the film, won a bunch of awards, came back, and gave back 10,000 bed nets, which they put up themselves. Now, that's what I call CSR. That's what I call dedication. Yeah. And he's still here talking movies. He still thinks Kenya is the best destination. Oliver Litondo, our best known actor ever, still thinks that he can convince Richard to keep the movies in Kenya. I don't know. If there's no incentives, Richard says, forget about it. They'll go to South Africa. At Oliver Litondo, at Richard Harding, at Koinange Jeff, the hashtag is Keep It Kenyan. Tweets coming in very thick, very fast. Richard, a couple for you. Prince Rumba says, tell that Hotel Rwanda man to take off his cap. I want to see his face. The sick Dr. Kenneth Romeo, please ask Richard Harding to lift his cap just a little bit. What's up with that, man? Yo, Richard.
I like my hat.
That's your signature kind of thing, right?
That's my signature.
All right.
It's like your cigar.
If he lifted this hat, Jeff, if he removed the hat,
yes,
he would no longer be my producer.
Abel Mutua says, recreating scenes like, apparently there's a movie where Mombasa was supposed to be recreated in Morocco. Does that make any sense, Richard? Does that make sense? I mean, it does make business sense, but come on.
Well, I mean, look, sometimes you have to do what is more conducive and financially, feasible to get a film made. Look, making films in Mombasa, I don't think it should be that expensive to do so. I'll have to understand the circumstance as to why it was recreated in Morocco to really be able to comment on it, but there are various different reasons why people do that.
Yeah. Well, Oliver, Martin Muller wants to know, why are incentives important for a country's economy and in our context film? Can we demystify incentives?
Well, I don't, if it can be demystified if the people in that country that we are asking to create incentives would come out and say, wait a minute, forget about the incentives from the government. We, the people, or we, the private sector, are going to put the money up to do the films, to engage in the film industry. Then we shall demystify that incentive thing. Yeah. The incentive thing is coming in because of the costs involved and the fact that these countries in which the films are made are going to reap some kind of publicity. For instance, tourism will come in, and the filmmakers are saying, we want to come to Kenya, which has got the best and which the tourists, the best that the tourists want to come and see.
Yeah.
Why don't you give us a chance to make more films so that we can help the country to make more money in more films?
Now here's a guy who would make a really good film.
Yes.
Major General Mohammed Hussein Ali.
Oh, Hussein Ali.
He just tweeted in, he says, Oliver, wonderful talent and great guy.
Thank you very much, General.
Richard, why do they call him General?
I was about to ask you the same question, Jeff. Can you tell me, why do they call him the General?
Shall I answer on behalf of the General? Would you because I am General.
Jeff, you got to fill in those blanks. Jeff, you got.
But he did it well, though.
Yeah, but you got to fill in the blanks. Why do they call him the General,
I
Jeff?
like my job.
I thought you were all about showing the boss who's boss. I've seen Jeff not be able to talk. No, he's speechless.
The General has tweeted again.
He wants to know why they call him the General.
Congratulate Richard Harding for his CSR. Yeah. Such an admirable gesture.
Yeah.
The General. He would make a great story. He's a former Navy SEAL or Army Ranger.
Yeah.
That dude.
Yeah.
Tough as nails.
Yeah. But Jeff, can we come back to Richard's movie called
Yes.
which
Richard,
he
what-
wants to make?
Yeah. What would make you come back to Kenya to do a
Yes.
movie, Richard?
I
What
mean-
would make you?
The numbers have to make sense financially. You know, the numbers have to make sense. It has to be a lower cost to make it here in Kenya versus making it over in South Africa. I mean, with the translator, you know, sorry, not the translator, with the first grader,
the first grader.
you know, I had to make it here. It was
Yeah.
a Kenyan story.
Was it
You know,
expensive to make?
to make the film?
Yes.
Well,
The
I mean,
first grader.
The first grader. I mean, in movie terminology, you would know it was a lower budget film. It wasn't that expensive to make.
Okay.
Which is why I couldn't understand why we could not get the numbers we wanted here from incentives, and you know, we went around trying to get something, but we couldn't.
What's going to make you bring the translator here, which you're working on right now?
Yeah, correct.
What's
Yeah,
going to
we're going to
make
shoot it later
you
this year.
film it here?
The numbers have to make sense. There has to be some sort of incentive package that will make it, that will allow it to cost less to shoot it here than it would to cost in South Africa. Right now, it's costing more to shoot it here than it is to shoot in South Africa by a few $1 million. You know, I'm not gonna forego a few $1 million to come to Kenya, you know, when I can do it for a few $1 million less in South Africa.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the reason, and that's what a lot of American producers like myself face every single day. A
Yeah.
lot of us want to come here, but we just don't.
Yeah.
For those reasons.
A few $1 million, you said?
Yeah.
That's what they give to Supreme Court judges here.
I think, Jeff, if we also
That's another show.
if we also can convince Richard, 6 Cents and our
Lakewood.
company,
Yep.
Lakewood Films, coming together in a co-production.
Do collabos, yeah.
Yeah.
And we collaborate,
absolutely.
and we say,
Absolutely.
Richard, what can you bring into this film? What can Lakewood Films bring into this film? And we convince some of our friends here in Kenya, some of our enthusiasts in the film industry here in Kenya. I think it would make sense. And this is what the Ministry of Culture, which oversees the film industry in this country, is saying, can you convince us that you can get some Hollywood producers who would come to Kenya and collaborate, co-produce Kenyan stories or African stories and make the money here and employ our, young people, employ vendors who will be serving these people, giving them food and so on and so forth, and have beds in hotels for the actors who will come in from outside. If you can convince us that we can work this out with co-production from outside with a local production company,
That would work.
We would give you something that would make sense.
Listen to this point that Richard made earlier on. Christopher Kirwa, my good friend Chris, he says, South Africa has an office in Los Angeles that helps market SA film
Correct.
as
Very true.
South Africa as
Correct.
the best film destination.
Correct.
What are we doing as a country? Oliver, if you were offered that job, would you do that? Kenyan office in LA?
I would overdo it.
But then they have to send the
No,
right
do it.
people to
Well, of
market
course.
the country,
Of
right?
course.
But
Of course.
when you send, let's say you don't even have an office, and you decide to send a delegation from Kenya to go and sell Kenya, who are in that delegation? Are they knowledgeable about their situation as far as Kenyan film industry is concerned? You don't just bunch people together and say go to Los Angeles and sell Kenya as a destination for the film industry. An office is very, very important indeed. Or even if you don't have an office in Los Angeles, have somebody in the Ministry of Culture who would be the pin king, who would say, we want to go to Los Angeles and we want to go